Imagine this. A missile launches somewhere in the Middle East. Your radar detects it. Your defense system calculates its path. Interceptors launch. Everything is working perfectly. And then, the missile changes direction. Your interceptor misses. The missile keeps coming. At 15 times the speed of sound. You have seconds left. Now ask yourself a terrifying question. What if America's billion-dollar missile shield can't stop it? Because a country under heavy sanctions claims it just built exactly that weapon. And it's called Fattah, the Conqueror. For decades, the United States believed it had solved the missile problem. If someone fires a missile, America shoots it down. Simple. The system protecting U.S. forces today is one of the most complex defense networks ever built. Think of it like layers of invisible force fields in the sky. Two of the most important pieces, THAAD and Patriot. Let's start with Patriot. The Patriot missile system is basically a high-tech bodyguard. Radar scans the sky. A computer predicts the missile's path. Then an interceptor launches and literally slams into the incoming missile midair. No explosion needed. Just physics. A bullet hitting another bullet. Patriot protects cities, bases, and critical infrastructure. But what if the missile is coming too fast and too high? That's where THAAD enters the story. THAAD, short for Terminal High Altitude Area Defense, intercepts missiles on the edge of space, up to about 150 kilometers high. That means it can destroy threats before they even enter the atmosphere. Together, Patriot and THAAD form a layered shield. For decades, this method worked because of one key fact. Missiles were predictable. Ballistic missiles fly like cannonballs. Up and then down. Their path follows physics. And if you know the path, you know exactly where to intercept. But then a new class of weapon appeared. One that doesn't follow predictable paths at all. On June 6, 2023, Iran unveiled a missile called Fattah. And the numbers immediately shocked military analysts. It can fly at the speed Mach 13, even Mach 15. That's about 18,000 kilometers per hour. Its range is 1,400 kilometers, enough to reach Israel and most U.S. bases in the Middle East. But speed wasn't the scary part. The scary part was maneuverability. Iran claimed the missile can change direction mid-flight using a movable nozzle and advanced guidance. Which means the path is unpredictable. And if the path is unpredictable, missile defense becomes dramatically harder. Because interceptors need to know where the target will be. If the target keeps moving, calculations become useless. Then things escalated even further. Iran revealed a second version. Fattah 2. This version is reportedly designed as a hypersonic glide vehicle. Here's what that means. Instead of flying in a giant arc, the missile launches into space, then detaches and glides through the atmosphere like a skipping stone. Up, down, left, right, all while traveling faster than 5 times the speed of sound. And that's the definition of a true hypersonic weapon. But here's the twist. Many Western analysts believe Iran's claims might be exaggerated. Some experts argue the missile is closer to a maneuverable ballistic warhead than to a full hypersonic glide vehicle. But even if that's true, it's still dangerous. Because maneuverability alone makes interception far harder. And that's enough to force militaries to rethink everything. Here's where things get even more interesting. Iran is not the real leader in hypersonic weapons. That title belongs to 2 countries. Russia and China. Russia already deployed the Kinzhal hypersonic missile. At a speed of Mach 10. China went even further. Their DF-17 hypersonic glide vehicle is designed to maneuver through the atmosphere at extreme speeds. The United States is still testing several hypersonic programs, but has not yet widely deployed them. Which means the global arms race looks like this. Russia, operational hypersonic weapons. China, operational hypersonic glide vehicles. United States, developing defenses and prototypes. Iran, claiming entry into the club. And here's why this matters. Hypersonic missiles fundamentally change the timeline of war. A traditional ballistic missile might take 30 minutes to reach a distant target. Hypersonic weapons can cut that dramatically. In some regional scenarios, you might only have 5 to 10 minutes. Or less. And if the missile maneuvers, your defense system might only have seconds. That is why Russia does not allow Ukraine to join NATO. If NATO launches missiles from the Ukraine-Russia border, Moscow is only minutes away. The distance between Moscow and NATO is physically long and militarily short. Now let's compare something important. The Middle East versus the US homeland. In the Middle East, distances are short. From Iran to Israel, about 1,200 to 1,600 kilometers. Missile flight time, possibly 4 to 10 minutes, depending on speed. That's barely enough time to respond. But the United States homeland is different. 2 giant oceans protect it. Most enemies would need intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, to reach it across the Pacific or Atlantic Ocean. Flight time, around 25 to 30 minutes. That gives the US warning time. But here's the scary part. Hypersonic weapons can change that equation. Because they can fly low and maneuver, making them harder to detect with traditional radar. And that's exactly why the US is building a new satellite system called the Hypersonic and Ballistic Tracking Space Sensor. A network of satellites designed to track these weapons from launch to impact. Without that, a hypersonic missile could appear far too late to intercept. Now imagine a future war between the United States and a peer power like China or Russia. Not a small regional conflict. A full-scale great power war. In the first minutes of that war, hundreds or thousands of missiles were launched. Hypersonic glide vehicles. Ballistic missiles. Cruise missiles. Some head for aircraft carriers. Some target air bases. Others aim at radar stations. And some head toward the United States mainland. Now picture cities like Los Angeles, Seattle, San Diego, and Norfolk. All of them are major military hubs. Suddenly, radar sees objects moving at Mach 15 or faster. But their paths keep changing. Some dive. Some glide. Some split into multiple warheads. Defenses try to intercept. Some succeed. Some fail. And unlike regional wars, in a great power conflict, these missiles could carry nuclear warheads. It means a single penetration could destroy an entire city. That is the scenario that keeps military planners awake at night. Because the reality is simple. Modern missile defense is powerful. But it was designed for predictable threats. Hypersonic weapons break that assumption. Here's the surprising truth. The real power of hypersonic missiles isn't just destruction. It's psychology. If commanders believe a missile cannot be stopped, then every base becomes vulnerable. Every carrier becomes vulnerable. Every command center becomes vulnerable. That uncertainty alone changes strategy. And that's exactly why countries are racing to develop them. Because the first side to make defenses obsolete changes the balance of power overnight. So, is Iran's Fattah really the unstoppable Mach 15 weapon it claims to be? Maybe. Maybe not. Experts still debate whether it truly matches the hypersonic technology of Russia or China. But that might not matter. Because the moment the world believes such weapons exist, a new arms race begins. And that race isn't just about building faster missiles. It's about building the first shield capable of stopping them. Until then, the question haunting military planners around the world is terrifyingly simple. What happens when the shield no longer works? For the US policymakers and military leaders, there is another question that keeps them awake all day and night. China can now mass-produce hypersonic weapons like fireworks. What if America's THAAD or Patriot run out of munitions? For instance, Israel built the most advanced defensive shield in the world, but some missiles from Iran can still penetrate it. Compared with Israel, America's homeland is 450 times bigger, and the defensive shield is far from enough to protect its land and people. China possesses more advanced hypersonic missiles technologically than Iran does, and its factories, military and civilian combined, can make hundreds of thousands of such weapons at wartime. What if China is forced to fight back when its core interests are infringed upon? Like Taiwan or the South China Sea. The US has to transfer THAAD from South Korea to the Middle East in a war with Iran. Where can it get more defense systems on Earth if China enters the story? The war with Iran has shown the world that the US is not as reliable as it brags. And that is why Taiwan's authorities began calling Beijing the mainland rather than China, and appealing for peaceful coexistence rather than deterrence. In previous videos, we said China and Russia are the winners of the Iran war, and today we want to rephrase it. China is the biggest winner, and Russia is the second biggest. Russia can sell more oil and natural gas at higher prices. The war benefits Moscow economically, and helps reduce its military pressure in Ukraine. For China, the war revealed the weakness of the US military, and the rest of the world realized the US is not so formidable when no allies are on its side. Donald Trump successfully ruined America's credibility, making China look more like a trustworthy partner on the world stage. Some argue that China may become the world's only superpower in 20 years. Although we do not fully agree with it, the Iran war is making China one of the most influential nations. The US wants to join hands with China and manage the whole world, but Beijing refuses the new G2 world order. Instead, it wants to remain one of the countries on Earth, not the one country on top of the Earth. Shortly, the US may become one of the American countries, not the sole superpower overriding international law. The Iran war may be short and end suddenly, but it will become a turning point for the planet.